And I tend to do that once I get people start coming in and talking and all that stuff, then I forget to record. So I'll just turn it on early and get it.
5 minutes past time at this point.
Okay. Well, let's just go for it.
Okay.
So let me introduce you to Bruce Walsh. He's a playwright and more importantly, the father of
Henry.
Henry.
You've lost your identity, father of Henry.
Henry was in with him the other day making copies, and he's just a joy. He's
Oh,
a
he's
pure joy.
Mhm.
Honestly, curious and bright, and yeah.
I've got the earbuds in because it's bedtime now, and you might hear a lot of
Might hear us.
resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Bruce brought us a play, and I'm going to let him explain about the process and all of that, and then Janie and I are going to be your reading actresses tonight.
Cool. Let me get my lights here so I can see. Cool. So Fa asked me to bring in a play that could be read well on Zoom, and kind of an example of playwriting that's going on now, by living people. This is a book that came out in 2020. It's called A Younger 10. So it has some younger actors in mind for it. But it's a collection of 10-minute plays, all written really recently. And the book is one of the many books by Gary Garrison, who is well known in playwriting, but mostly well known for this kind of 10-minute form. He's written a ton of them himself. He used to teach at Tisch in New York for a long, long time. And then he was the president of the Dramatists Guild for a long, long time. So he's like known by playwrights all over the place. But he collects 10-minute plays in book form. And there's a 10-minute play award named after him at the Kennedy Center. This is kind of like his form, And so the 10-minute form has a history in playwriting. It's considered a little old-fashioned now. Like, I think Gary Garrison would be annoyed at me saying that, but many theaters had nights of 10-minute plays, and so 70s and 80s and 60s. This is like how often playwrights got themselves sort of in the door, with the 10-minute play. And the 10-minute play as a form it strives to find to deliver kind of like that experience. It strives for this. It's not easy to do, but it to deliver the experience that you get from a whole play within just 10 pages, within just a short amount of time. So it's usually they try to have depth and mystery and all those things we want to have in full-length plays. The goal is for it not to be a sketch, not to be like Saturday Night Live or something, where those are a lot of fun, but those are typically like do a few jokes and get out, These tend to have like kind of a richer, deeper life to them. And then Fa asked me to say something about like the Playwrights Process, especially during COVID over Zoom. So like what we're about to experience now, this is, I'm in a couple of groups of playwrights that meet, and right now we're all meeting over Zoom. But this is a lot like a group like this would this size would be like the process for John to develop this play, and I'm sure he did meet at tables with people while he did this. Playwriting tends to be a far more social writing form. Of course, there's writers groups for all kinds of writing, especially fiction writing, but playwrights in particular need to hear it aloud typically. So they, you need to have the language in the air. So it tends to be, I think it tends to be a more fun table, playwrights group. And there's usually a lot of laughter and that kind of thing.
I like
So-
that image of language in the air.
Yeah, it has to be, that's where it lives. Yeah, it has to be spoken, and usually in a group that like a few of the playwrights, a couple of the playwrights have had acting careers too. That's usually what happens.
Oh.
And playwrights are typically pretty good at doing a cold read too. As a playwright, when
I've honestly never thought about that. Never thought about
Yeah.
them being, putting it out there at a table, and hearing it. But it makes perfect sense.
plays are, when I teach intro to playwriting, I always say that like the revision process in playwriting is tends to be much more strident and much more, we call it, you have to use muscle and hustle when you rewrite a play. Like poets will often change a line here, change a line there, make smaller adjustments, not always, but typically. But playwrights really need to like, often there's a mechanism here to how we hold attention. And I think you'll see in this play, there's kind of a way the play is revealed. And so playwrights often need to get rid of characters entirely. They need to make drastic revisions. I always look at like every draft of my play as an outline for the next draft. It's just, I just start again, so he likely brought this to multiple groups and worked on it and received a lot of feedback along the way. Okay, so for this play, Cry in the Forest by Logan Baugh, who's a Seattle playwright who's been at it for a really long time. He's even older than me. He's doing this for a while. He has his own like mixed media company in Seattle. I think it's called something like I don't know, something like Breakline Theater or something. But so Pastor Fa is going to play a 17-year-old through the magic of theater for this, just so you're aware, which often happens at a writer's table. People will play across sex and race and
Completely believable.
Yeah.
Completely believable.
Oh, look, a day over 16 and a half.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Chloe will play her. Janie will play Chloe, who will be Pastor Fa's aunt. And so I'm going to read the stage directions. Now, stage directions in a play just tell us the visual. There's like you're going to hear the auditory, the dialogue back and forth. But I'm going to jump in every once in a while and say that the lights are doing this, or that a character has entered, or whatever. Okay, are there any questions before we begin? Okay, so A Cry in the Forest by Logan Baugh. Characters: Beatrice, played by Pastor Fa, an awkward and unfashionably dressed teenager. Chloe, a well-manicured and urban woman, Beatrice's aunt. The time is now. The setting, a forest and elsewhere. Lights are low. Beatrice is sitting with a diary. She's writing by flashlight. Then she stops and reads back aloud what she's just finished.
Dear diary, in the middle of my summer, in the middle of my life, 3 weeks before my 16th birthday, I find myself lost in a dark forest. I won't attempt a full account of the tragedies that led me here, since I soon may have to use your creamy pages for kindling. The Range Rover exploding with my father inside, the lingering death of my mother from dysentery, the vicious cougar that carried away Aunt Chloe, the rushing torrent that swept off my cousins Alex and Clarice on the third day. It all still seems like a horrible nightmare. I would sob if I was not trying to conserve my strength for whatever lies ahead. Here I am, thousands of miles from the farthest outpost of civilization, and it may be weeks before a search party should come. By that time, it will be too late.
Her pocket starts ringing. She reaches down, barely looking, and turns it off.
Abandoned, alone, surrounded by an awesome, eerie silence, heard only in the darkest of dark woods. I am far, far from the life I knew, in a place where no human voice save mine can so much as utter my name. Yet even as I face a horrible, lingering death, I feel strangely alive. There is comfort in the luxuriant green all around me, the fleeting glimpses of birds and small animals, in the cold, silent stars above.
Chloe knocks on the door.
Are you in there?
Oh, in my own wild soul that finds an echo in this wild, inhuman place.
Chloe enters. She's an affluent suburban housewife, well-coiffed, styled, and manicured. Beatrice closes her diary.
Why are you sitting here in the dark?
She switches the light on.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Your mother called.
Oh,
She said you weren't answering your cell.
my battery's dead.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, anyway, she wants you to call her back. Apparently your car has died and your father's insisting that the new one has to be a Range Rover.
I'll call.
Chloe starts to leave.
Good. Well,
Could you turn that light out?
Chloe stops, then comes back into the room.
Beatrice,
Yes, Aunt Chloe.
do you really want to spend your whole 2 weeks with us like this?
Like what?
A gorgeous day and you're indoors with your nose in a book.
Sort of.
I thought you liked to read. I know you like to read and scribble things in your diary, but you could be out there having some fun instead of hiding in here.
I get sunburned.
That's what sunscreen's for. And vitamin D is good for your complexion. You know, your cousins are going over to Wild Waves this afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Clarice said she'd loan you a swimsuit again.
That's nice of her.
I know it's a little baggy, but it does the job. And I've talked to Alex about the last time and the you know what, and he says he's sorry.
That's nice of him.
He just likes teasing his cousin. Or you could go to the mall.
Uh-huh.
Your mother said you need to get new clothes for school. Don't you want to get new clothes for school?
I guess.
We've got a Banana Republic. Don't you like Banana Republic?
I guess.
It's a big outlet. They probably even have something in your size. I'm sure that you could find something.
Thanks.
You're at that awkward stage, aren't you? I remember when I was your age looking in the mirror and thinking, am I really growing into someone this ugly? I was just like you, only with me it was these and this and not my, I'm sure you'll grow out of it.
That's good to hear.
It all changed during one summer for me. I went away to camp for a month, and when I came back,
Yes.
well, let's just say that I was very popular for the rest of that summer.
What kind of camp was it?
Oh, you know, a summer camp on a lake out in the woods,
In the woods?
way out in the woods. Camp Ipecac or something. We learned how to make leather wallets and paddle canoes.
Did you spend time in the woods?
We had to, we had no choice.
What was it like?
I didn't care for it. Too many insects. They would get in your food.
Oh,
Everything would get dirty. I ruined several nice blouses. And at night, you'd hear these sounds. No, give me Santa Monica any day. I don't like the woods.
I do.
Why?
I like the quiet. And I like the way the sun looks through the leaves and the not knowing
Not knowing what?
who you are, where you are.
I like knowing where I am.
I like being lost.
That's silly.
Lights begin a slow fade.
I like being resourceful, finding shelter in a rain, picking berries,
Whenever we travel, I insist on taking the GPS.
starting a fire with flint and some twigs.
Oh, thank God for microwaves.
You in the world, not outside it, but inside it. Nothing between. No walls, no cars, no forests, no fences.
I would certainly miss my manicures.
Aunt Chloe,
Beatrice?
last night I had a strange dream.
Oh?
I was sitting beneath a huge tree, dappled with its shadows and filled with an overwhelming tranquility.
Now that's nice.
My hands were petting a furry head that lay on my lap, the head of a large cat.
Like our big old grumpy Mr. Fluffernut downstairs?
No. When I looked down, I saw that the head was huge, the size of my own. The cat was huge, a huge wild beast, lion, a panther, and it gazed up at me with these lazy golden eyes.
Oh.
Its mantle was flecked with drops of blood. And it looked up and smiled at me, and out came its tongue. And it licked its lips, and I smiled back.
It's now almost as dark as it was at the top of the play.
That's a very strange dream.
Thank you.
The lights come back on, startling Aunt Chloe. She stands for a moment, then starts to exit.
Well,
And Chloe, I think I will go to Wild Waves.
oh, well, that's nice.
I'll get my own swimsuit at Banana Republic.
We can stop by there.
And if Alex tries to touch my you-know-what again, I'll hold him under the water until his face turns blue.
I'll let him know.
I love you, Aunt Chloe.
She gives her a kiss on the cheek and exits, leaving her diary. Aunt Chloe, shaken, stands for a moment. She looks over at the diary. She starts over toward it. There's a vicious snarl of a cougar. She looks up. She freezes. Blackout. End of play. Did you get our sound effect at the end there?
I did.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Cool. So why don't we just start this the way we would do if John were here? This is the way writers' circles typically work is after you've heard the play, the first thing you do is share affirmations, share things that you responded to, things that you connected with, things you enjoyed.
Oh, the description of the solace of the woods just brought back couple memories of being up in Clinton County hunting. Didn't fire a shot, but got to sit against a tree on one of those foam cushions or whatever they call the hot seat. And there's a little snow on the ground, but about 10 feet in front of me, a squirrel came around and he was playing with some acorns and stuff. And he was completely comfortable with me being there. And just watched him. I must have watched him for an hour. And another time, same hunting group up there. I had injured my foot, and they knew that I couldn't go out and do the trekking through the woods. So they set me up with a chair about 25 or 30 feet from the cabin, where I had a look down into the valley. And it snowed a little bit, and some pine trees there, and just watching the birds picking the seeds out of the pine cones. What a peaceful scene.
So sorry, go ahead.
That's it.
Oh, I was going to say, so the writing, the descriptions that the playwright wrote in there put you back in that
Yeah.
space. You remembered that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love about it is that there's one character that really connects to that. There was one that doesn't. Because play always needs contrast to bring that out. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We really
I had vivid memories of raising two daughters,
okay.
two very dramatic daughters who kept diaries. You were great, Fa.
Thank you.
I hearkened right back to my days when everything was such an extreme,
Yeah.
and the drama, there was just drama
Mhm.
all the time. And the best thing to do was listen, I would never have suggested Banana Republic, but neither here nor there.
Yeah. I had a nephew who was a storyteller. Oh my Lord, that boy could spin one. And then he'd say, "No, I'm just kidding." And you're like, "Oh," like he was this little whip of a thing. And he was a salesman. I mean, he grew up to be a salesman.
But what's fascinating is to try to figure out where the truth is. You know what I mean?
Just really
There's
enjoyed
truth.
joshing somebody and pulling them along and seeing, how far he could take it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's truth in all the fantasy. There's truth in there.
The image that the cougar in your lap brought forth was actually two images to me. One of them was back when Janie was still teaching. Probably the sickest I've ever seen her outside of when she was in for heart surgery. She had bronchitis, and she had come downstairs to our family room, sat down on the sofa, and we let our bunny Babs at the time out. And that bunny would normally come over and jump up on me and beg for treats and pets. She went by me like I wasn't even there, jumped up on the sofa, put her little front paws up on Janie's lap, and looked up at her like, "I'm here. I know you don't feel good."
Aww.
And you wouldn't think that of a rabbit, but she was right there for Janie. And the other one is in an earlier life, I had a cat that Shay was kind of a pretty special cat. I nursed him through distemper, and he never forgot that. But somebody visited us that was deathly afraid of cats. And as he's sitting there in conversation, he looks down at his lap, and Shay's sitting there again, his head and his paws on the guy's lap. He never realized that the cat was there until he looked down and saw the cat. And Shay looked up at him like, "I'm not so bad, am I?"
Well, I find the character of Beatrice just somebody who's like searching to be understood. I don't know why she's there. I guess as the actress and this is all there is, you'd have to kind of make that up. But it's, when people make up a lot of stories and details like that and they're seeking attention and, it's kind of interesting to think about, well, how we do that, how people will do that, how they'll seek that attention and sometimes make up stories and just like pay attention to me, just pay attention to me.
Well, yeah, what I so connect with in this piece, this is my favorite piece in this book, of collection of plays, but is the kind of sparking of you see an internal life, emerging. And I feel like I really connect with Beatrice, is like when that internal life, when you're young, Chloe isn't gonna connect with you about that, but there's like great beauty and great sadness in that, like this kind of connection, or she sees deeply into nature and the images. I think that those are that sparking of internal life, and that kind of like coming of age is like frightening, like the image of the blood on the cougar, and like, like you're coming into your own as a teenager, and that's frightening to the world around you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
suddenly it's dangerous for her too. Suddenly, the boys are not being appropriate, and how to that's frightening, but it also is beautiful and mysterious. I love it. Yeah.
I wondered about when Aunt Chloe says that was a strange dream, whether to play it like, she got me, thank you, or like she's calling it a strange dream. It's like total miss, like, thank you.
Yeah, because then she chooses to make the best of the situation after that, in the end.
Yeah, because she could go to the mall as a consolation prize for having to put up with Aunt Chloe. Or she could go to the mall because Aunt Chloe got it, and so she's more willing to be like normal and do things that normal teenage girls like to do, like going to the mall.
Yeah, and she does say she loves Aunt Chloe at the end.
She does. You think she does?
That's a good question. I think, yeah, I think that she's decided that she can
trust her.
Like, I feel like that she's okay within her internal world, so she can go shop for the bathing suit stuff. I think that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, and this is where my head went, well, why is she here?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, is she being punished that she had to go to Aunt Chloe's, or were her parents away? Or did her parents think she needed time with her cousins? Or did they send her there so that Aunt Chloe could listen to some of the weird stuff she says and see what she thinks? A second opinion, like a second mother opinion. Be interesting to know if Chloe was her mother's sister, to see what do you think? What do you think of that weird stuff that she writes in her diary? That's all those things were going through my head.
Yeah. Or, like, was her mother really sick and she needed to go because there was just a lot going on, and, in order to give Chloe a more, I don't like this word, but a more normal summer, or maybe, Beatrice was just being a drag on the family because she was there when her mom was really sick. There's like all these scenarios that you could come up with to decide why Beatrice is there.
And she's only there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's finite.
So almost like a vacation for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the second part of usually talking about a play in a writer's group is asking questions. Is there, does anybody have any? So we've asked a couple questions. Are there any other questions that you would want to know if the playwright were here?
Is Chloe an only child?
Mhm.
Or not Chloe, Beatrice.
Right, right.
Does she go by Beatrice?
Mhm.
Does she prefer a nickname in her secret world?
Mhm.
In a world where nobody knows her name, what does she call herself?
I think because this play is so good, I don't like, typically in a writer's group when it plays early on, there's a lot of questions about, like, you know, did Chloe go to Banana Republic or something, like, was she in a forest? Was she in a room? Like, what, you know? There's a lot, but I feel like all of that is pretty clear. Did everybody feel like they were clear on where the play was? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And so then the third part of a writers group discussion would be critique. We don't have to offer any, but is there any, does anybody have any critique for this play? Things they didn't like, things that, you know, things they think could be better. I promise I won't share it with John.
I don't really have a point of reference. I'm not familiar with. I thought our actresses did a great job, by the way. Very, very good.
Thank you. Take a bow, Janie.
Sold it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I love
Very
this
thought
piece.
provoking.
Yeah.
Yeah, very thought provoking. Much more than I thought it would be.
See, I think it would be fun
When
to
you think
have,
about it, it's sort of the same, going to say the same length as a sermon, right, Pastor Fa? Like a 10-minute sermon. That's what you got. You got 10 minutes to make your point and bring, you know, the story to life, bring the dialogue of the scripture or whatever it is you're talking about. So, you know, 10 minutes is not a long time. So, sorry, Paul, you were saying something.
I think it would be fun to have a readers group like this. And let it be open for people to watch, but to open conversations and, you know, talking about relationships and issues, you know, talking about you know, how you handle the transgender person that comes to dinner with your boy. You know, talk about, there's a myriad of things, but I think it would be, I would love to use the arts that way, like to have a theater, not a group like that we put on plays for the world to see and charge tickets and all that stuff, but kind of the workshop part of it and include, you know, some of the students from E-Town. I know that there's an improv group at E-Town, you know, let the conversation be not just by the people who view it, but also the actors engaging with the people who view it and talking about things, and then, you know, like from the actors' real life, what do they bring to it? Yeah, to get to know people, because we don't hear each other's stories very much.
Yeah, I feel like that could be done around a table, like post-COVID, you know, like I love sitting, like reading with other people around the table. That's part of the reason I like doing this kind of writing. Yeah. There's something really intimate.
There's safety in reading somebody else's words. You know, it's like music. If you can find meaning, but you don't have to own the origin of it. You know what I mean? So you could read Beatrice and Janie could read Chloe, and it wasn't you. Right. So you could do it safely, and then other people could listen to that and then take from it their own stuff. You know what I mean? That's what I think is really it'd be great to have, like you said, Fa, scenarios like what happens when your child brings someone transgender home. But if somebody else wrote it, then there's safety in reading that, and there's much more openness about discussing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it's somebody else's words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Fa I would like to do. There's a play called The Christians by Lucas Nath, and yeah, if I could get like Galen and Fa at the same table for that to like talk about the theology afterwards.
Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
But,
Oh, I
yeah,
would love that. Yeah.
It's a play about a pastor at a conservative church that gives a sermon that he's kind of come to, that he doesn't think there is a hell. And then the whole church can't function. Like, the whole church falls apart.
Oh, that sounds interesting. How
Um,
long is it, Bruce? How long?
yeah, and I think the reason it would work is that it's quite short. It's like 80 minutes or something, maybe less even. And the way that the play is done, I mean, we have this set actually. The way the play is done, typically it's done in this style that's like, you walk into the theater and the theater is set up like kind of a Baptist style church, and then he gives his sermon, but the whole like conversations between his co-pastor and his wife or whatever are all on stage in the style that's like that kind of holding the microphone Baptist style of preaching.
Oh, I think that sounds fascinating. I think that'd be fun.
Unfortunately, at UCC, there's not a lot of territory that can't be traversed,
Yeah.
like and talked about.
Yeah, that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they don't mind poking at the elephant in the middle of the room.
No.
Yeah, especially Galen and Pastor Fa, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's more bold than I am, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was raised United Methodist.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, just like even like what a privilege it would be, interesting to be in a room with two people that have been to seminary or have doctorates, and there's stuff to talk about.
And there's me, who was raised German Lutheran.
Who was?
Oh, go ahead.
I said I was
What'd you say,
German Lutheran.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
we
a little
have
more straight arrow. Yeah.
we have a number of pastors in our
Yeah, I was going to say that at one time our Life Search faith formation class had three retired pastors at the same time. So, you had a living concordance, in each seat, and then, just different perspectives from their own training and so forth. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's food for thought for the summer, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that was wonderful. We've had this month has just had some great topics. And I mean, not just this month, this whole series. People really missed out who didn't join us. So Bruce,
Well,
that was awesome. Thanks.
Thankfully, people can get out of the house a little bit more. So
Yeah.
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 Have you all had a shot of vaccine yet?
Two.
Really? Good for
Yeah.
you.
I just had my first one today.
You had
Congratulations.
your first one today?
I did. Yep. Went down to
I think
Baugh.
there's gonna be a much bigger supply
Yes.
real soon. So that's great.
Well, one of the gentlemen that was helping us move through the line said at the Bonton today down with Vaccinate Lancaster, they were anticipating 3,000 today.
Mhm. Yeah. Isn't it interesting that we, now we walk into a situation and we just want to say, are you vaccinated? Excuse me, are you vaccinated? That is the question of the day.
Forehead.
Yeah.
We're talking now about
You vaccinated?
Be vaccinated.
talking now about establishing some sort of a vaccination ID card
Yeah.
for travel.
Yeah.
That if you want to get on an airplane, you have to have, well, if you're traveling internationally, not only your passport, but your vaccination ID.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep, indeed. All
Did they
right,
schedule you for your second shot right away, or?
yeah, I have it scheduled. Yep, lady pulled right up beside me, had her little tablet on a rolly deck and said, would you like to schedule your second shot? Yes, I
Mhm.
would. Done. Yeah.
Good.
All right, well, let's say good evening, my friends.
Now, thank you, Bruce.
so much,
And thank you,
Bruce.
Janie, and thank you, Fa. That
You're
was very
welcome.
entertaining.
Fun.
I loved it. It was great.
Good.
Let's do it. Let's do it again. This is fun.
Yeah, do it again. Do it again. Absolutely, like a kid. Do it again.
We can meet in the pavilion and do one under the
Hmm.
stars. Wouldn't that
Oh,
be
that
fun?
would be
Yeah,
fun.
for the summer. That might be nice.
That'd be fun?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be great. Yeah.
yeah. Let's think about that. We could do that.
Okay.
All
Very good.
right.
Right. Well, blessings and
everybody.
rest. Blessings and rest.
Thanks.
Good night. Thank you,
Bye.
Bruce. It was
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Bruce.
Bruce.
Thanks,
Thank
Jane.
you, Rich.
Good night.